All right, we're recording. This is number 21, episode 21. We have Eric O'Connor. All right. We have Clinton Paddock, aka Benji Bronk, Mike Kern, myself, Justin LaSala, Steve Swishstack, Bob Jennings. Jeb Simmons is not with us today, and Jen Dieter may be joining us later. We'll see. Eric, welcome to our show. First off,
yeah, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. We know who you are, okay? All right. But tell us about give us your quick CrossFit, intro on how you got started and through kind of what your job is in the games for masters and whatever else you want to kind of cover. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, man, sounds good. Got started with CrossFit back in 2006, I think, with Spieler. Spieler and I are really good friends, went to college together. He heard about it. We started doing workouts at the local facility, and we were kind of instantly hooked on it. Progressed from there, went on to the level 1, level 2 seminar team. Been a flow master for them for about the last decade or so. Done about 400 level 1, level 2 courses kind of worldwide. Competed in the CrossFit Games 3 times back when people weren't really fit at all. Like if you could overhead squat 135, you're going to go to the games. Or if you just signed up early enough, you're also going to go to the games. So back then, and then progressed to judging the individuals for a couple years, and then started helping run the Masters, I think in 2013 or something like that. Me, Jason McDonald, Dave Eubanks, Eric Preston, around that point. And yeah, that's what I do when the game season comes around. I hang out with the Masters crew.
Nice. I mean, I want to backtrack a little bit to what you said. When you went out to the games those early years, did you have a feeling that like, hey, this could be something, this could progress? I mean, obviously it might be tough to kind of, envision what it is now, but did you have a sense it was something back then?
No, I thought it was initially just kind of ridiculous, honestly. So 2007, Spieler's like, hey, I'm going to go out to the CrossFit Games. And I'm like, this sounds stupid. Like, we're going to go and work out in someone's ranch. Why are we going to waste our weekend going to do that? And then 2008 came around, and we went from like 50 competitors that year in 2007 to now people were fighting for like 300 spots in 2008. So there was a rapid growth, and I had the itch to compete again after not competing, in college wrestling for 3-4 years. And then once 2010 came around, that first year in the Home Depot Center, I was kind of like, yeah, this thing is going to be for real. And then, just getting to know Castro behind the scenes a little bit and how he works and how, he strives to make things the best as humanly possible. I thought that the growth was just going to be almost infinite.
And you guys want to touch on anything? Or you have a question about that? Any guys? Steve, I thought you were going to say something. I'm sorry.
No, I do. I mean, thanks a lot for joining, Eric. We really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
You've seen this thing evolve for all these years. I mean, you were there from the ground up. I guess my question is, where do you see it? I know we're probably going to get to this as we get through the conversation, but where do you see it going? Where do you see this thing going in 2021? Obviously we're a Masters group here who have competed in multiple games. Where do you see it going for Masters more than anything at this point with what your background has been over the last several years?
I have no idea, honestly, on anything right now. Honestly, but just from what I've heard about Eric, who just took over, I think he's fired up on the games. Honestly, I think he's fired up about it. He's a Masters guy himself, and he's super supportive of the game. So we have that kind of going for us. I see it getting bigger personally on the Masters side of things. I know last year things seemed kind of on a lower scale than the previous 2 years. I would say I think I see it getting bigger than what it was last year for sure, and continuing to grow. I'm not exactly sure what that will look like though. I've had no like behind the scenes interaction with those guys. But if I had to guess, I would say bigger and better.
Yeah, I mean,
Hey, Eric,
I'm
what
sorry,
was
go
your involvement last year? Were you involved at all or no?
2019,
Yeah.
yeah, just head judging. I didn't have much like behind the scenes with like the programming or anything like that. But running the judging crew and facilitating that was my primary role last year, with some behind the scene things there.
And
Mike, guys, yeah, we've talked about this in the past. And were you involved in programming before 2019? Did you do any of the programming before that?
Yeah, 2018, I was on there. I programmed that year. 2017 was Sherwood. I thought that was a fun year. And I programmed a bit. I want to say it was 2013 or 2014, the year where there was like Nancy went on. That year was the year I had assisted in programming a bit as well. But I think 2018 was really the only year where it was like kind of like my baby to a degree.
so what are the chances of you getting it back? Because I think all of us would agree that 2018 was the best programmed year,
Thanks.
or none. And compared to 2019, it's not even remotely close.
Yeah, I don't know. I would love to do it again. You know, honestly, like I love it. It's fun. I geek out about it. I think the hard part with that is because I'm not in Santa Cruz. I'm not local. I'm not there with the rest of the games crew. It's a little bit harder to do it from a distance and have the interactions with Justin Berg and with Dave and the other guys about, you know, troubleshooting some smaller points. When you're there, it's easier to get immediate feedback, make adjustments, and make the necessary contacts a bit smoother. So I don't know. Hopefully it happens again because, like I said, I love it.
Well,
Yeah.
there's a potential for lobbying effort. I think all of us would get behind you, man. We all kind of.
Yeah,
I broke my back on that one rep max jerk in 2018. That
Yeah.
didn't go well.
Hey,
The second part of that workout was even worse, though.
that workout was gnarly.
Yeah, there was disgusting workouts that year. Yeah.
okay, I think I remember that one. Was that the jerk? And then
1 RM,
what
two
followed
rounds,
that?
2 rounds ski.
50, 40, 30?
No,
There's a dumbbell squats, ski.
Yeah.
2 rounds of 50 dumbbell squats.
yeah, that was awful.
Terrible.
I know. I actually had Spencer Hendel test that workout out. And, you know, he was kind of my guinea pig for a lot of those workouts that year because him and I were traveling together some, running some of the CrossFit competitors courses back when they had that. So I had Spencer was kind of like my guideline for a lot of the workouts, and then we will kind of modify slightly accordingly.
Yeah, take us through that process. I'm sorry, Bob, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say Spencer Hendel is like the anti-masters athlete. Like, first of all, the guy's like 6'4". You know.
Yeah.
That's why we had the med ball GHD sit-ups in that year.
Okay, there's a story about that though.
Yeah, Castro changed it, right?
He did, yeah. So like, and like, you know, so I watched that entire workout. So, you know, people that don't know, 3 rounds, 30 medicine ball GHD sit-ups, and then it was 10 sandbag over the shoulder, right?
Yeah.
I had it written without the med ball. And, you know, feedback from Dave was like, I think we should use a medicine ball. I'm like, okay. So I'm watching that workout going down, and I'm honestly kind of scared about it. I'm like, who's going to get hurt from this sucker? But I think it ended up going okay. People were just a little bit sore afterwards.
Yeah. My back was wrecked going into it. I remember going up to you in the corrals, like, what is the minimum work requirement? Like, I don't want to withdraw from the competition, but in the warm-up area, I can't get backwards in this GHD, let alone with a med ball. And you were like, just keep actively working. I was like, that was not the answer I wanted. So, like, everyone was like, I was like screaming like a 90-year-old man on the GHD.
Yeah, usually come like the final day, about a quarter of the athletes are like, hey, like, what do I got to do just to stay in the competition? What do I have to do? But yeah, there's some back and forth with a lot of the workouts, and there's some little tweaks that Dave makes. And, you know, some of the tweaks, it just affects everything else. right? You know, like if he has a preference for something like that, I'm gonna have to alter things for the next day and the day after that.
Yeah. So that's my curiosity. Take us through that process. Like, how does that work? Dave says to you, hey, I want you to do the games. You program it. You start writing workouts. And then does he start changing them? Or does he say, hey, Eric, logistically, this ain't going to work. I know it looks like a fun workout, but it's not going to flow nice. I mean, I know you have experience, but take us through how you even get the honor to program the workouts.
Yeah, the honor, I don't know. He asked me like way back in the day and it went okay. I've learned a lot from Dave about like, you're right. A lot of it comes down to just like visually, like how's it going to look? And that's one thing I didn't understand back in 2013, 2014. And he helped kind of guide me a little bit on that for sure. But the last year, the process one is like, it's like kind of where do you start, right? Figure out some things I really want to test and see what happens with it. And then kind of program around that. And then there's a lot of back and forth between me and another guy that works for the games. His name's Johnny Mack, who I'm sure you guys might know. He was a Masters qualifier a couple times. He's just a super stud, but he helps out with the games a lot. And he's in charge of like anything on the field setup. He has all these little slides. So he's pretty much come up with some workouts, test them a bunch, refine them. I would talk with Johnny Mack about what the floor could look like based upon the space that we had, whether we were in the age group pavilion or if we were going to be outside. That's also a piece of the puzzle too. It's just like, where can you be at what time based upon what else is available? And I think last year that put some hiccups in some of the plans, honestly, with 2019 programming. Get the workouts laid out the way I like them, and then create all the scaled options for it too. So all the modifications for different age groups. Essentially, that's a next big step, and that takes a bit of testing as well. And then I'll pretty much will take that and then submit it to Dave. Dave will go through it. Last year or 2 years ago, I just sent him a mess. And he's just like, I don't know what you're talking about here. So I had to like reorganize it in a different format, and he gives some feedback on it, make some adjustments with, again, will mean tweaks to other workouts. And then send it again. And it's kind of like that back and forth that happens there. And then you talk with Rogue about what equipment you need. Is it available? What do we have? What's the rig going to be like? And we kind of fine tune things from there. But it is a process beyond just creating workouts for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be a ton of logistics and stuff too. But you brought up a point that I wanted to touch on. You know, back in the day when it used to be at the Home Depot Center, the Masters kind of went early, like a day or two earlier before some of the other events. So you had more maybe rain to do some stuff. And I know we're all hypothetically talking here, but did you think that was kind of a better format that you had at the Home Depot Center in a sense?
I think there's pros and cons to that. I think the pro is that I can do whatever I want, right? Like I can, whoever's programming can kind of do whatever they want because there's nothing else going on really. The downside is I think the concern was that it didn't draw as many spectators. And there was a lot of hope that doing it concurrently with the individuals and the teams at the same time, you get a lot more spectators walking through that age group pavilion area, and it will provide that for the Masters athletes versus there being a lot less people in the stands. Did that work out? I think at times, yeah, it does. And at times it still, wasn't the most beneficial for sure.
Yeah, I mean, because, like, hey, I can go into the Coliseum and see Frazier, or I can see Clinton Paddock,
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, for sure. Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Clint, looks like you had a question, Clint.
Was there ever a thought of having the Masters just do the exact same thing that the individuals do?
Some of the workouts, yeah, not like the whole entire thing. And I think that a lot of that was just for volume control, honestly there. And then the logistics, like, could that happen? I think there's been a few workouts where it's been the same. And I think they'll keep on trying to like replicate that to a degree. but I don't think there's ever an intent to have like the same across all the age divisions and the individuals.
Yeah, I mean, what's the process on how do you come up with the weights? You know, like you said about scaling for the other divisions, but how do you sit there and you say like, I mean, especially when you're testing Spencer Hendel. I mean, you have some relationships. Obviously, you know Chris, he's a master athlete. You know Matt, he's now a master athlete. You know, and we had Matt on, and he gave you some kudos when we brought your name up, saying that you don't get enough credit out there in the world. You know, like, how do you come up with that, or is it just constant testing to find out? Like, because the age groups are only 5 years apart, so it's got to be really weird.
It is. It's tricky. So the way I kind of figured things out was look at the previous years and see what people were doing, and then probably just go a hair more than that, you know, because there's a progression that kind of happens with it. And then look at the open results, look at the Masters qualifier results, and kind of see what people are hitting there. Use it as a guideline, and then start testing it like crazy with that. And it's not even like the loads. Some of it's the loads. The loads can come pretty easy because I can program for, I think for me, the 35-year-old age group, and for most of the workouts through the 49-year-olds, just like a prescribed workout amped up for a super high-level athlete, in my opinion. Like, people are freaking fit right now with that. So, man, it is kind of programmed for the best with those age groups there. And like, what loads do I think achieve that? Honestly, it gets a little bit trickier, I think, when it comes to like complex gymnastic movements. When you get to the higher age groups, the loadings are pretty easy to figure out. It's more about like, well, what about the muscle up volume? What about handstand walks? When is there diminishing returns in programming those movements? And is there?
Yeah, Eric, I run a masters only competition, and I can relate to you a lot on that. Like, programming 35s through 49 is relatively easy, right? I mean, I'm 47. You know, what would I want to do, basically, right? And kind of work from there. Once you start getting into the older age groups, it gets really hard. And I would even say, like, the thing I'm always trying to avoid is putting these guys out there, guys and women out there that are, you know, the best masters athletes in the world, and having them stare at a bar or stare at a rig and not do anything because they're incapable at that point, right? Like, it's not possible for them to, I don't know, do 405 deadlifts and then, you know, 100-foot handstand walk or something, right? Like,
Totally.
And you just don't want to embarrass people, right? And then the other thing that I found is, like, with those older age groups, like the difference between like me and Justin is small, right? But the difference between the best 6-year-old guy and the 10th best 60-year-old guy is like pretty big, you know? Like, there's huge disparity there that you're trying to manage as well. Like, those two things are really, to me, that's the hardest it's the hardest part of programming for masters is those
it's kind of a balance, you know. It's like when it comes to the CrossFit games, I kind of have the personalities like, hey, you're there, you know, like there might be a couple of you guys that stare at the rings, but I think it needs to be tested because the best should be able to do it. You know, we're trying to find like the best. So I kind of have that mindset to it, but kind of alongside, like, if I want to do a handstand walk for the 55 plus age group, which I think we did for the first time in 2018, maybe 2019, it can also be about how can I program that alongside something else. So there's something else to do potentially before that, or to reach that point. And like, I think what we use like tiebreakers from some of that stuff as well. And I think one year we had handstand walk to finish a workout, and you were scored on obviously how far you went in the handstand walk. But if you couldn't handstand walk, then you were scored in the tiebreaker from the other two movements. So they had the shot to do it, but they had other stuff before it to at least get a score.
Right.
I find myself doing the same thing. Like, I'll put that stuff kind of at the end of workouts, you know, or small volume in the middle of workouts, right? You know, like muscle ups, for example, right? Just because, again, like you want them, the skill has to be there, but you don't want to embarrass them either at the same time.
Yeah. And I've gotten that feedback about like muscle ups too. And particularly with like the 55 plus age group, the women, they were, some of them were ticked. We didn't have muscle ups for them last year. Some were like, yes, this is great. No muscle ups. Like, so there will always be kind of like that balance of, you know, how much is enough and how much is too little.
Have you ever considered just writing a totally separate workout, like same movements, let's say, right? Like same equipment on the floor, but just a totally different workout because, you know, you want the 35 to 39 through the 40 to 45 to 49. You want those guys to hit 30 muscle ups before they do anything. And, you know, obviously you can't do that with the older age groups. You ever consider something like that or no?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one year instead of like there was a double under squat snatch ladder for the younger groups, and we end up kind of tweaking that to a double under squat clean ladder for the older age groups.
Mm-hmm.
You know, kind of make it kind of fluid and look good in the field and that sort of a thing. There's been times where you kind of shifted the order of movement to kind of fit in with what you're talking about there a little bit. But yeah, that's probably the trickiest part.
Yeah, and do you ever get yourself in a point where you're out there on the floor, you know, you're not judging one of the athletes, you're watching it all over, and you're like, oh, I'm going to fucking kill these guys. Or, you know, like, or what did I do? Or do you even sit there and think like, hey, I should have made it heavier, you know, I should have made it more challenge, or these guys just crushed and blew it out of the ballpark. Kind of like me last year when I took first place in one of my workouts by like over a minute, you know, so
Oh my God.
Oh,
You've been
man.
waiting the whole call just to say that, right?
This is the
Bob put me down. Bob
Bob
said we were like this close to one another. And I mean, there's a much bigger difference. Come on.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. There is a huge difference between my 565-pound deadlift and your like 300-pound deadlift.
Oh, I love it.
I mean, there's a massive difference between my
deadlift's getting
455-pound
better.
back squat and your like, you know, 225. There's a huge difference, man. I get it.
You're right, Bob. You're right. But Eric, to that question though, you know, do you ever sit back and say like, oh fuck, I'm gonna kill these guys here? Or on the other side, hey, I should have made it heavier, more challenging?
Yeah, but more so I'm going to kill these guys type of thing. like for example, that, you know, the skier dumbbell squat, bar facing burpee. I forget the heck what the other middle movement was. Like that workout was devastating, but it also made me like extremely happy on the floor to watch people fail in the bottom of their last 5 dumbbell squats. I think it was either Sam Briggs or Anna Tobias. Like they were cranking near the end and they're moving forward every couple of reps. And I think someone failed a squat on the last 5 reps. And that was exciting for sure. Hold on one second. My little boy's coming in. What's up, buddy? What's up?
Hey, didn't Jason Miller win that workout in the 45 to 49s?
Yeah, Eric, I know you got to go to practice.
Oh yeah,
he won the
here.
GHD sandbag one as well.
Yeah, he did. But you know what? All the big guys won that. In our 40-year-old division, our biggest guy won that workout. He was like 220, and he just owned it. The med ball was so awful.
Where'd that guy go?
Jason?
You talking about the one just from last year?
2 years ago.
We had a big dude in there.
Yeah, I talk to Jason every day, man. He's doing well. He's just not really CrossFitting anymore. So
Right.
Hey, Eric, do you mind if we shift to judging real quick? You guys good with the programming? Do you mind if we switch to judging?
Yeah, whatever.
So I'm the only one of this group that I have the least amount of games experience. So I was just there last year. Are you the guy that would go over the workouts before? Like you would kind of, they would like demo them to us, right?
The
Yeah.
briefing.
You were involved, and then you had to answer all the questions, right?
I have to answer the questions. Yep.
Yeah.
That's me.
If I
I'm the
could
guy.
just say something
I'm
for
the guy in
1
the
second.
microphone.
As I was just getting on late, I heard your voice, Eric, and I got like a little PTSD just like hearing your voice because yes, he goes over the workouts, and I literally started to get like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. That's the voice that like is the scariest thing in the whole world. So
I know, man.
I'm just saying, yeah.
I don't like that either. I hate getting the microphone. I get a microphone out of my hand.
Like,
Here's my question for you. We don't have any teenage listeners or viewers to this show because it's rated R. How do you put up with the teenage questions that come at you on every workout, man? Like the patience that you displayed out there.
It's not just teenagers.
Saintly. Yeah, true. True.
I mean, it's everyone. It's a large population of people that gave me some questions. I had a couple friends of mine from Park City here. They came to a briefing back in the Home Depot Center, and they're like, that was the angriest I've ever seen you in your entire life, because I got 12 questions about a box step over. And I was like, guys, just step on the box to get to the other side. You can jump or step. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like sometimes I lose my patience and have to be a bit more direct with that stuff. I also try to be understanding about where in my notes maybe could I have been more clear. I think last year, honestly, I worked the notes out and I probably had the least amount of questions. And then, with me, if I elaborate on my answers, it ends up being a big mistake and leads to more questions. So I try to answer the question in 10 words or less. And if the question's already been asked, I just turn it to a point where it's like, I've already answered that, moving on, because a lot of it can just get pretty redundant. I think the teenage questions are actually great. I get a big kick out of it. But yeah, those guys are funny anyway.
Eric, I think you do a great job.
Thanks.
I think most people would probably go ape shit crazy over some of the questions and everything else. And you literally just you stay level. I mean, you can see maybe in your eyes a little bit when you're super annoyed, but you keep it really to yourself. So that slight annoyance in your eyes just kind of goes level across the board. And it's I think you do a great job.
Well,
and
thanks.
I think, didn't you shut down the whole, I want to say the first year in Madison, you shut down the whole training area or whatever, no microphone, no nothing. You just basically told everybody what's up and said, this is the way it is. Y'all need to stop doing this, blah, 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 blah. But I mean, we all just stopped in our tracks. And I don't even remember what it was that you said, but it was this guy just made everyone, the open division, the masters division, everybody just stopped in their tracks and listened. And we were all okay. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like being that guy. Honestly, it's not my nature necessarily. It's kind of you got to do what you got to do to make things flow well and, have the best overall result. Honestly, I always kind of worry that I come off a bit too harsh.
No, I think you do it well.
In those environments, whether I'm on the floor or in the corrals or doing the briefings, mostly because I have to keep that professionalism and I want to keep the distance from people, honestly, to not have any kind of favoritism and and that sort of a thing, honestly. So, but that's kind of difficult for me because it gets to be kind of tricky at times.
You do it well. It can't be an easy job.
No, it's tricky for sure. Stressful.
So Eric, when you're when you're working with all the judges, right? They're all volunteers. What are kind of the most important things when you're working with them to assure fairness across the competition?
Oh yeah, that's tricky. You mean fairness as far as accuracy in judging?
Yeah, consistency, right?
Yeah, my job really is to educate them.
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time either in the morning before a competition starts or in the evening after it ends, troubleshooting what's going to be the problem areas. And then we just rehearse, in a handstand push-up, you're going to see this, you're going to see this, you're going to see this. And we just review what good rep and bad rep might not be or is going to be. And we really try to rehearse that. It's never going to be perfect. I don't think there's ever going to be 100% uniformity across all the judges from lane to lane. It gets better and better all the time, though. I get less and less complaints about it. So hopefully that's a good thing. But a lot of it is just educating them on what's going to be the problem areas. And then You know, really our biggest problem can just be rep counting, making sure that that's accurate too, and making sure we have like the correct scorecards given to the judges that have the correct workout on it. Because when you're dealing with 16 age groups or 16 divisions or whatever, some of that sometimes that gets messed up. People have the wrong scorecards. They start second guessing the rep scheme. So that's a factor there as well. But I would say the biggest thing on my end is educating, making sure they know where to stand and when, because we try to look good and professional out there. And then making sure everyone kind of knows exactly what rep scheme is and the flow of the workout when we rehearse and review that.
Honestly, I get the most nervous when I see that head judge coming over. You see
Yeah.
kind of the corner of your eye, you're like, oh shit, my reps better be good now, because the judges get nervous too just seeing you come over.
That's usually when I start breathing heavy and faking like I'm really tired. Stepping away from that bar.
I agree.
I don't have
like,
to fake it. I usually am really tired.
I mean, like, I've already had people that have been like, hey, judge, go over that way. You know, I don't need you over here. And I remember that too from competing. Whenever I had like a head judge come on over towards me, I'm like, okay, what am I doing wrong here? I better be doing something well. That could be tricky too from a head judging standpoint. If I do need to give my judge feedback, I gotta be really mindful of how I deliver that feedback. You know, I like making sure I'm not talking to them while they're counting and while they're like, you know, like in the middle of judging a rep. You gotta kind of find your spots there, because I've messed that up before, where I've gone over and I've approached a judge, you know, maybe to tell someone to have their athlete get the chin over the bar more in a pull-up, and they look at me, and then the athlete jumps up with the bar and is starting to do pull-ups. So I've messed up and made a lot of mistakes there. But that's an art, as well as how can we effectively communicate that stuff and not disrupt what's going on.
Did you guys ever have to reprimand like a judge and just be like, listen, you're just not doing it right. You know, we got to get somebody else in here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've had to pull judges and everything, pull them out, assign them another duty. That's always really hard, because I mean, their heart really is in the right place.
Yeah, they're trying.
Like they're volunteering like 5-6 days out of their time. Like, you know, I can't say enough good things about our volunteer judging crew.
Right.
I mean, it's so stressful.
Yeah.
It's long hours. There's not a lot of respect given with it. People are on you all the time about everything. You are zoned in when you're judging someone. It's how they use their vacation time. You know, like they use their vacation time to spend a week, you know, judging 12 hours a day. So that can be a difficult process, and you gotta be really sensitive about how you approach that stuff.
And like you said, it's extremely stressful because, you know, I think most of them are CrossFitters and understand that the stage that, you know, the athlete's performing on, and they're working their tail off to get to this point and do well. But yeah, you know, I would concur. I don't think the judges get enough respect from everybody, quite frankly, because it is a hard job. You know, I mean, I even talk about the people who judge my qualifier events, and I'm yelling at them because they miscounted it or something like that, because that's how important it is. And it's pretty stressful. Clint, yeah, Clint's laughing because he knows my judge.
Oh yeah, oh, great. Good kind of battle going on.
Hey Eric, so conversely, you remember the Ryan Fisher incident, right?
Yeah.
Were you involved in that at all, or not really?
No, I wasn't there at that regional. I was at a different regional.
Has anything like that ever happened at the games?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
A couple little temper tantrums here and there. And I expect that. I mean, that kind of should happen. It's like you should have upset athletes every now and again. Like you're in the heat of the moment with some frustrations. You know, you might see a little bit more of that, like behind the scenes of people complaining. You know, honestly though, over the years, there's been less issues, I think. And like when there is a problem, there's usually can be a pretty good resolution to it happen. So no, I don't remember anything like that happening from that regional like 5 or 6 years back.
Yeah.
Eric, would you like to see regionals come back?
Oh, man, that's a good question. I don't know. I think yes and no. Honestly, the regionals, probably the most stressful, exhausting month of my life, like of the year for sure. Like, it's 4 weeks. You get back on a Monday morning, get back home on a Monday morning. You have to leave again on Wednesday. You're on site, Wednesday night or Thursday planning stuff. Then it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You're going through. By week 3 or week 4, the end of that, like I didn't know what's happening, by that week. Those days are longer than the games even at times. Like I usually get on site, like in the building at 5 o'clock in the morning, and then we wouldn't be leaving to like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night some nights. So it's an exhausting month. I like to see how this new format plays out with hope. I think we're going to have sanctionals. I don't know. I'm curious how that flows out. But then regionals also is where you get like there's a lot of good stories that come out of regionals, both on the judging side of things and the athlete side of things. So I don't know. What do you guys want?
Yeah, from the regional standpoint, just to touch on that, do you think it helps you guys to prep some of these judges as like a first stage of them? Hey, like, look, this is what it's like, and you can kind of maybe pick and choose people that you want, or, whatever. Maybe from that standpoint, you can try things that you might want to test at the games and see how it kind of plays out on the regional field.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's great prep for the judges for sure. And it's good prep for me too, honestly, to kind of get back in the swing of things again, like kind of like feel the flow of the day, like get used to managing the timelines. Because we have a strict minute by minute timeline that we get.
Yeah.
That we have to follow, from like the walk on time to the walk out time, transitions. It's amazing how that all gets put together.
You think that's part of Dave's military background there?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just how good everyone is at doing their job. Like between that timeline and the people at Rogue they blow me away with how like Dave will ask them like, hey, how long will it take to make the rig like this, set this area up, get this amount of weight onto the floor? And Bill will be like, it takes 11 minutes for us to do that. So then we can factor it out. It's honestly, it blows my mind how good everyone does at what their role is.
I'm
Yeah,
curious,
timeline thing.
Okay,
have you been asked to judge at any sanctionals?
No. And I don't know how they run the judging show. I know the people at the Rogue Invitational that run the stuff there. This guy Drake and Rob Lawson. Like I know they do a great job there. I don't know honestly like the organizers or the judging crew of the other sanctioned events. So I'm not sure exactly that's organized.
Yeah, as far as like would we like to see regionals? I think a lot of the master community would love to see regionals in a sense where it's a gateway for masters to get to the games instead of the online qualifier, I said this, I think we talked about to Dusty Highland last week. I think making the sanctional events regional events, make the Wadapalooza the Southeast region, and the same way they invite elites to come, just let that be the elite division. Still have RX and scaled and teams and all that other stuff so you can get revenue, have an online so that maybe you can take a couple of people to put them into the elite division if they rank in the X amount of top 10. It'll give the athletes money. I think there's a way to make that work. Now, maybe not all the sanctionals, but I don't know. That I'd like to see some sort of live version that gets you to the games for a master. And especially for the teenagers. I can see the master and like, okay, and I'm first off, I'm super thankful there's even an opportunity. You said it before, once you get out of college, there's nothing. There's beer league softball and darts and, cornhole if you got some drunk friends, there's nothing really, there's not an outlet for us. So now that we have something, I'm super happy about it. Now that we have it, we'd like to tweak things and make it better, you know? So, I mean, that's something on my agenda that I would love to see, some sort of regional competition that gets you into the games. You know, Steve, what do you think?
I agree with you. I think regionals was also good for the affiliates. You know, if I'm thinking about just athletes in general, right? If you can have 30 sanctionals going across the world, and it gives these athletes an opportunity to pick and choose where they can go and compete and potentially qualify to make some money, I think that's a great opportunity for them. I think for an affiliate, when I look back at, you know, our regional was the East Regional. We go up to the Boston area, and it was some of the best times I've had was watching the regionals, and some of our friends are on the field of play, so to speak. And I do think we need to get masters doing live competitions. I mean, the video reviews, Bob, you're legends. I mean, how exhausting is it just to watch videos to make sure people are hitting the reps correctly? I mean, forget about what you're doing, Eric. You're live and you're seeing it. Now go to video. Hey, is that person actually going below parallel or not? Well, let's put them on the field of play and see. All right, but I agree with you, Justin. I think there has to be another tier for us to go ahead and do this stuff live. Whether that happens or not, I think I always talk about it's always going to be about money, and if people are going to come watch us and pay to come watch us, I think we'll see it. If not, we're going to be where we are right now.
You know, what about like some kind of, even, you know, these events have got to cost a lot of money and time and effort and all that kind of stuff to put on. But what if there was a division that was like the regular old sanctionals for people to make it to the games and the open division and all that, and then a masters division perhaps, but then something to do with the affiliate? Because I do agree with what you guys said about the affiliate. I feel like regionals is where the affiliate itself had so much pride in the team that was going, you know, like anytime we sent a regional team, the whole gym was just so all about it, and they were so excited, and you know, it brings in new members. It like, oh, they had a regional team, you know, that's so exciting, I want to go to that gym. Or, you know, people just hear about it, or maybe I do want to try CrossFit, you know, any of that kind of stuff. I think that there's something to say for the affiliate cup, if you want to call it that, compared to the super team, you know, which is just you take anybody kind of thing. You know, and I was fortunate enough to participate in a few of our regional teams. And, you know, I think that just like that kind of camaraderie is all that sort of team sport stuff that we're talking about, you know, that you don't get a chance to do as an adult that much. And it brings it down a little bit of a level from the super team to kind of the average Joe, you know, to a certain extent. So I feel like people miss the affiliate portion of regionals.
You know, I hadn't thought about that, but that makes a lot of sense. You know, I remember the last time I competed at regionals, like, man, we had a huge gym crew there, and they were just going bananas. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, that was actually like a blast. I hadn't thought about like that type of an impact. Like, you know, you're right. Like they were bringing their friends along, and then some of their friends started doing CrossFit after that stuff.
Right.
You know, which is a pretty interesting point that you make there. I hadn't thought about
Right.
that part of it.
This makes it a little bit more exciting, you know. And then for me, I think the first time I went to regionals, I was on a team, and it was my first CrossFit competition, but it was the first time I had done anything competitive in 19 years. So I'm like walking out there going, you know, as a master's athlete, whatever, being like, guys, I haven't done anything on a team in 19 years, you know, like, it's just like that whole sense of pride and all that kind of stuff that you're just like, wait a second, I haven't done that since college, you know. It's just, I don't know, kind of crazy. So there's something to be said for that like close network. And, you know, all the regional teams that I've ever been on, you know, there's just like this, like, oh, we were on a team together, you know. It's I don't know, there's
That camaraderie.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's cool.
Clint, what do you think?
I mean, because I agree with the regionals, because I mean the open really is meaningless. I'm shocked you got 295,000 people to sign up when only how many hundreds are even eligible to go anywhere. So I mean, he wants to grow this to 500,000, and he said to 1 million. I mean, there's really no reason for anybody to sign up other than, you know, just for shits and giggles. But before, you had like your gym could possibly make it to regionals. It's just all how, like, what guys were doing what. So, I mean, I think that needs to come back just for that, to grow the opens. Because right
And I think
now,
for a lot of, I'm sorry, Clint.
you got some masters, you got some teens, and you got some individuals, and some of the individuals don't even do it. They'll go to a sanctional and hope to make it that way.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a great. I mean, I especially with the fact that your gym is that supporting part, and for them making it to regionals is the games, because they're not going to make it to games, so there's an opportunity for them to be on the big stage, so to speak. I think that's a big part. Bob, what do you think?
Yeah, man, I'm with all you guys on this, right? I think the affiliate part is key. I think that's key to growing the business for everybody, especially for us affiliate owners. I love the idea of you kind of keep the open and the AGOQ the same, but you grow the field back to 20 again by adding 10 sanctionals in, and that's 10 other opportunities for masters to make it to the games live, right? And there are, Justin, you and I went over it like at the beginning of COVID. I don't even remember when that was, but we went through all the sanctionals and like, okay, these 9, I think, had full masters divisions, right?
Yeah, there were like 9 or 10 or something
there, right? It would be cool if they would bite on that.
Eric, you're a master now, right?
Oh yeah, I just turned 40 last week.
Does that kick the juices? Does that kick the juices going a little bit? Kind of like we had Dusty Highland on last week, like I said, and he was bumping up, he was aging up, and he kind of was licking his chops a little bit. Are you licking your chops a little bit to maybe make a run, or is it over for you?
No way. I don't want to put the time or the effort. Honestly, it's like I said, man. It's like I see what you guys do. It's no, like I remember we go back to workouts that were programmed. I test the 55-year-old workouts, and they beat me. I remember that stinking it was a sandbag over the shoulder and toes to bar workout from 2018. I tested that out, and I think Will Powell smashed you by 2 minutes. Just like, what's going on here, man? So no, I have no desire. I like training hard. I think honestly, one of the reasons why I stopped training for competition was it took out the enjoyment of exercise for me. I was stressed about my exercise versus enjoyment. I was taking time away from doing other things with my kids, and I was tired all the time. I just want to lay down instead of going to coach my kids' football team tonight, that sort of a thing. So I had a little bit of a priority shift. And then, beyond that, people are just so good, and I have zero desire to want to do the work to attempt to get to that level. But I still got a little bit of fire in the gut to go hard.
We're all going to follow Matt Chan's advice and start training less. So
yeah, I know, man. That guy's he's nuts. He's an anomaly in my opinion with the amount of things that he's done. Yeah.
Eric,
no desire for that.
Is there any interest that, what's your affiliation? What's your relationship with CrossFit now? Are you still, do you have no affiliate, because you were used to do their competitors program. Is there talk about bringing that competitors program back? Because it seemed like you guys were doing well with that. I don't know what the numbers are.
Yeah. My relationship with CrossFit's good. I'm still a part of the level 1, level 2 team and all that jazz. It's more about navigating COVID right now with the amount of work that we get with doing the seminars. Actually, it creates an extra layer of difficulty for sure. And then what was the next part of your question? I forget.
The competitors class. Well, why did that stop? Why did it just?
Yeah, so there was a transition from things like CrossFit gymnastics and CrossFit weightlifting and all those things. They got moved to a different type of business essentially there. So we were no longer under the SME umbrella. We got put into a contractor umbrella with that. And then, so we changed it to, me and Austin Maliolo took it over, and we changed the name to the Advanced Coaching Concepts course, because what that competitors course kind of gravitated into was really how can you make higher level athletes at your gym, or if they're competing, just move better and program for them a bit differently. So we had a natural evolution. I am curious now, like if there will be a competitors course that comes back through CrossFit. I'm really curious about that process, but I don't know really what the direction on that's going to be. Like, I don't know if they're going to bring back the SME stuff and have things like CrossFit weightlifting instead of Bergener strength, which is what it's called now.
Right.
I'm really curious what the evolution happens with those types of courses.
I mean, I have a ton of questions still, but I mean, you guys have anything you know? No? All right, Eric, let me ask you this. Do you think your wrestling background was an easy transition into CrossFit?
Yeah. To a degree, like mindset, mentality.
Yeah, for sure.
Technique, no. Like, I mean, wrestlers have the worst weightlifting technique of all time. And like, you know, I have video of like Chris and myself just doing workouts in the Globo gym, and it's horrific looking. And then depending upon the wrestler, you know, they're going to have a little bit of tightness in certain areas, whether that's in their shoulders or ankles or hips. So that can be counterproductive. But as far as mindset and like just like working in a time domain that CrossFit demands, I mean, I'm biased towards wrestling being the best.
For sure.
To prepare for that. And maybe some gymnastics too.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where you're out there and you're going to find out if you put the work in. I mean, to me, that's kind of how wrestling is. You know, if you put your work in and you worked on your skills and your endurance is there and you're dieting correctly, because that's a huge part of it. You know, I mean, there's so many kids cutting weight and they drop 20 pounds just to get to a weight class and they have no energy and they're dead, you know, and there's a right way to do it. I think there's a lot of similarities before wrestling, and definitely the mindset. You're on an island, you're by yourself, it's you and the bar or the wall ball or whatever else it is. So I think that's because I know Chris obviously has a background in that. So yeah, that was a question of mine.
Yeah, it was. And honestly, individual sport leads into an individual sport. But then it's also like, how do you prepare leading up to it? You know, like for dual meets and stuff with wrestling, I knew what time my match would take place approximately. Like, how could I warm up before that? What would I do before that? When would I have my last meal? Like, all that thing was just kind of help with preparation for a meet, just like preparing for a heat for a CrossFit competition.
What made you pick CrossFit over something like MMA?
I didn't want to get elbowed and kneed in the face. So a couple of my roommates, they fought in the UFC. A couple at a really high level. You know, they fought in the UFC, and that was my next step after college. It was like, well, I guess I'll go into Ultimate Fighting now. I dabbled in some jiu-jitsu, did a couple of submission grappling tournaments. And it just boiled down to like getting kneed in the face. Like getting punched in the face, I was kind of okay with. But like for some reason, like a knee or an elbow didn't seem like the most fun.
Terrible.
Stuff like that. I love the sport though, man. I kind of wish I would have just sucked it up and did it and see what happened. I don't know. But then
you have a messed up face.
I know, man. I got cauliflower ear. I got it all. I mean, I kind of miss that stuff though. Honestly, I miss having black eyes all the time, to a degree, and like a mangled face and nose.
How many of you guys all did wrestling? Just you, Eric, or anybody else?
Nah, I did.
My 8th grader has decided he doesn't want to do basketball, and wrestling's the other option for this winter sport. And I'm like, you should do it. And he's like so uncertain, but it seems like it'd be a good alternative sport to kind of get into.
It's a great discipline.
Yeah. Wrestling's awesome.
I think, you know, and I'm biased to it. Like my boy does it. He's 7 and he wrestles. There's a great wrestling program about a half hour from here. Like they run their young kids program very similar to a CrossFit kids program. Like have some fun, get in the mat, learn some basic fundamentals. And I can honestly, it's cool to say this, but I could care less if he wrestles long term or not. I just like the lessons that it teaches. And as far as being a way of like defending yourself, it also provides that as well. You know,
True.
like as far as like basic body positioning and awareness, like spatial awareness between you and someone else, creating angles. It kind of gives that to it as well. But I like more the psychology lessons of it.
I think 11 of the 13 UFC champions right now have wrestling backgrounds, which
Yeah.
just tells you it's fundamental to self-defense.
Yeah, agreed. And that's my biggest enjoyment with it. I'm hoping I can start doing some jiu-jitsu at some point once I have some time. I start dabbling in that, but yeah, no MMA for me.
Plus the psychological part of it too is that you're out there and no one's going to help you. You have to do it yourself, and that's it, you know. And I think I think we make it too easy for people now, you know. All right, we have all this technology and all this crazy stuff that makes everything supposed to be easier, and it just makes us a little softer, I think, a little bit, you know. But that's just me.
Yeah, I think we're seeing that.
Yeah, exactly. Eric, I don't know how much more time you have, you know.
Yeah, I got about like a minute, maybe.
Yeah.
Sorry, man. I know.
No worries.
Thanks for
We
accommodating
appreciate
my
you coming
time.
on. We could talk to you all day and stuff, you know. Hopefully,
I can do the same.
you know, we'll get you back on here, and hopefully we'll all get a chance to see you doing briefings. Tell them you're gonna run, you're gonna swim, and you're gonna run. That's it. Okay.
Next question.
Yeah,
Stop asking me
exactly.
this stuff.
But hey,
Yeah.
thanks a lot for coming on, man. We appreciate it, and hopefully you'll do some more programming soon.
Yeah, man. I hope so too. It was fun. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no doubt,
Cool.
man. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
Take care, guys.
See you, man.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, we can talk about them now.
Oh yeah, I wasn't sure if we're Jen. It looked like Jen got all dressed up for him. She might have.
Wait, hold on. I gotta stop the video, I guess.
Oh, okay. Jen, record. We're just busting your chops there a little bit.
No, we're
Wait,
not.
shit. How do I stop the recording? God damn it. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Oh, there we go.
Where